Hello folks, this is John Lincoln, and today we have another controversial topic that might surprise a lot of you. So here it goes. I believe that leadership books are making you dumber. I am not suggesting this because they lack intelligence, rather because they make you feel informed while you avoid deciding. If someone has read 10 leadership books this year and still hesitate to make hard decisions, then their problem is not for lack of knowledge. I would call it avoidance dressed up as growth. Look at your nightstand and your calendar. One shows what you have read, and the other shows what you have decided. Somewhere along the way, many felt that reading about leadership was more about leading than actual leadership. I don't have to tell you that it is not. Leadership is not a knowledge sport. Rather, it is a judgment sport. Judgment implies that there are consequences, and consequences are never forged in chapters in a book. There are some executives who can quote the 5 frameworks before coffee, and then there's the founder who references behavioral economics in every meeting. Then, of course, we have the manager who highlights entire chapters on culture, empathy, psychological safety, radical candor, extreme ownership, deep work, atomic habits, 7 habits, 21 laws, 48 laws, and other unrelated topics. Unfortunately, this type of managers keep their teams waiting for decisions like passengers at a delayed airport gate. Let me ask you something early before we go further. How many leadership books have you read in the past 2 years? How many irreversible decisions did you make in the last 90 days? Drop that in the comments, as I really want to know. That is an important ratio, and it tells a story. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Leadership is not a knowledge sport, but rather it is a judgment sport. Judgment does not come from mere input only, and to make good judgment, you need real friction of all the issues and significant factors. We live in an era of guru addiction, and unfortunately, we confuse consumption with progress. We are misinformed, and we feel productive while reading. Our dopamine spikes as the pages turn, and we start to underline and screenshot quotes from the book. The whole notion of reading these leadership books gives us a feeling as though we are upgrading ourselves. Unfortunately for most, they forget nor never consider that no one ever built a company by highlighting a paragraph. Take the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book has a brilliant framework with deep principles, and it asks folks to account and take personal responsibility and proactivity. These folks who read leadership books should know that personal clarity will never replace structural accountability. They also need to know that values cannot substitute for incentives, nor can mindsets alone fix broken systems. In other words, many would start to believe that required structural accountability gets replaced by clarity of values. Unfortunately, culture is not built by personal virtue alone, but rather by systems, incentives, and consequences. Then there is another great book, Good to Great, that preaches level 5 leadership, the flywheel concept, and other powerful ideas. Unfortunately, many of the great companies cited in that book later struggled or declined. We need to recognize that what worked in one economic cycle might not protect a company from the next cycle. Many folks erroneously think that success can be reverse engineered like a recipe. These folks do not consider that context changes, markets shift, and that timing matters. Survivorship bias is real because when we study the winners, many folks merely assume that these companies' traits caused their success. This book ignored the fact that many of the companies that had the same traits still failed. The lesson here is that leadership is definitely not a copy and paste matter. The book, The 48 Laws of Power, is a fascinating read. It certainly has sharp observations on human behavior. This book does make one feel strategically aware. However, here's the trap. Based on this book's material, you might win short-term positioning in your company. However, what this book does not say is that if you start leading purely through manipulation, perception control, and power plays, you certainly are going to lose long-term trust. Never assume that teams are chess pieces forever. Eventually, most teams realize that they are being played. Take the book Atomic Habits. The core idea of the book is simple and powerful. It says that small improvements compound. Excellent advice for personal behavior. The book advises that daily gains produce big personal changes. However, it will become problematic when leaders apply that philosophy blindly to companies. As we know from many failed companies, the correct move is not gradual improvement, but rather what is required might be radical change. What these failing companies require is a complete pivot. Look at what happened to BlackBerry. These folks had the data, the research, and many internal memos warning them of the advent of touchscreen smartphones. These BlackBerry folks studied the shift, analyzed the risk, held meetings, and they reviewed many scenarios. Unfortunately for them, while they were modeling the future and stuck with analysis paralysis, the highly competent folks at Apple shipped it. Leadership is not about just understanding every angle and aspect, but rather it is also about being deliberate and decisive. Let us look at Kodak, the folks who literally invented the digital camera. They had the technology in-house, the engineers, the patents, and the foresight. Unfortunately, Kodak did not have the grit nor the courage to cannibalize their revenues with cheaper, low-cost alternatives. What Kodak needed at that time was not marginal improvement, but rather radical changes that pivoted their overall strategic and operational directions. Most of us have read or know about high-performance cultures. At WeWork, everyone talked about blitz scaling and hypergrowth. Their language was out of this world. Their storytelling was intoxicating. Their slide decks were beautiful, and their slogans were magnetic. However, underneath all that rhetoric was governance chaos, undisciplined capital allocation, and decision-making driven by hype narrative rather than realistic numbers. The point I am trying to make here is that reading books about culture is easy. Trying to build one that succeeds and survives scrutiny is not as easy as what any book might say. This whole topic is not just about startups only. Large multinationals like General Electric also buggered up big time. For decades, many MBA programs had business case studies that considered GE the gold standard of management. These case studies and many books worship GE's leadership training pipelines, performance ranking systems, and other aspects. Then real-world complexity outpaced their management playbook, and GE's financial engineering concealed structural weakness. The key lesson is that even excellent leadership frameworks become dangerous when they are treated as doctrine rather than tools. I am not suggesting that books are useless. Reading to expand your mental models is powerful and useful. It is the guru culture that irks me, although it might be seductive to take up reading to avoid responsibility. Every real decision will cost you something. Real-life decisions cost political, capital, reputation risks, sleep, and it can occasionally expose a person. So what can you do about it? For every book that you read, make it a point to make 3 uncomfortable decisions. And for every framework that you study, execute something irreversible. Your business nor the market will reward you not based on how well read you are. You are rewarded for how good your decisions and executions were. If this video was useful and it resonated with you, please hit like and share so that more leaders can see this. If you want uncomfortable truths instead of recycled inspiration, please subscribe. Make sure to share this with someone whose bookshelf is impressive, but whose calendar is indecisive. And before you go, I want to hear from you. What is that one decision that you have been postponing while you are contemplating it? Here are my closing thoughts. Perhaps books can inform you, mentors can guide you, and some frameworks can help you think in a structured way. However, none of them can substitute for the moment when you look at incomplete information and feel the weight of consequence and still have to choose and decide. Leadership is not proven by what you know. Rather, it is proven by what you decide when what you know is no longer enough. This is John Lincoln signing off and reminding you that the world is not shaped by what leaders read. Rather, it is shaped by the decisions that these leaders dare to make.